Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Game Week 11 episode of Three Teams in a Pod. My name is Chad, and I'm joined by my co hosts, Jonnas and Jaydin. How are you guys doing?
Going very well. Can't complain. Watching some Champions League footy. So yeah, good to see you guys again.
I'm doing good as well, man. Can't complain. Nothing so great FPL wise, but other than that, yeah, I'm doing okay.
No, that's great. That's great. Today,
What?
for our episode, we also joined by a special guest, our first ever guest on our pod, all the way from the UK, Cam. Cam, how are you doing?
Hi guys, yeah,
Cam,
thanks for
can
having
you?
me. I'm doing really well. Um, yeah, I'm excited to be here. I've been enjoying your episodes up to now, so yeah, thanks for having me on board for this one.
No, it's great
Thanks
to
so
have you on
much, man.
board, man. It's nice to always get a fresh opinion. I'm tired of these two guys' faces already, and it's only our third episode. So it'll be
Feelings mutual.
quite nice to get a fresh perspective. I think maybe as a start, you maybe want to give us a bit of an idea of your FPL history, how long you've been playing for, and how the season's going for you.
Yeah, I'll rather talk about how well this season's going. I won't, I won't go into my FPL history. It's a little bit sketchy to say the least. But yeah, I've been playing FPL. I've been playing FPL for a long time. I won't say how long, just in case there's children and women listening. But yeah, this season's going really well. I'm playing a slightly different and professional game. Obviously, I'm involved in a 50k challenge with Jonnas as well as some other competitors, and I think that's helped me to stay competitive and play a professional game. And I'm following some professional and elite managers within the community as well, so that's helped me to sort of keep pace with the top end of the bracket.
No, that's great to hear. I mean, competition always adds a different perspective to your FPL playing style. Like it just gives you something a bit more to play for. I know with myself, over the last probably 5 to 6 seasons, it's always been competing with Jaydin and kind of benchmarking myself to Jaydin's performance, and that always kind of encourages me to try to do better. So it's always nice having that competition, especially if you are in like a competitive platform that's as public as the top 50k challenge. It's also a
Yeah.
nice way to keep yourself on your toes. Yeah, so maybe we'll dive straight into it and start with your
Wait,
team, Cam, for game week 10.
wait, just on, just,
How did you
just hold
fare?
on. Just hold on quickly. I'm going to say, it seems like the standard is so low given my 1 million rank and your 10k rank. like, like, what are you actually holding yourself up to? I mean, looking bad, man. But I mean, we'll move forward from here.
It's a one sort of thing. Like it's
Yeah,
like one of those seasons. I think I had such a season, the COVID season. Like it's just you start off so badly, and like it just goes against everything that you believe in FL wise. That like you just question, like
yeah,
you in your mind, you feel like you're making the right thing, and at the end of the day, what happens each game, it just doesn't like be the fruit of your
go your
decisions.
way. Yeah,
Uh,
well, we'll get to me then. It's fine. I'm
and I mean,
cool.
it's game week. It's game week 11. Like I'm sure a lot of managers are going to fall off, particularly with the World Cup as well. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Cam.
There's
So
hope. There's hope.
your team is up on the screen. I see you scored 64 points in game week 10, and you made one transfer. Do you maybe want to walk us through your game week 10 team?
Yeah, so I made one, as you say, only the one transfer. Up to now, I haven't taken a hit all season long, and I don't intend to do so for the foreseeable future either. And I'm just building my team slowly but surely to take me to the World Cup. In which case I'll be able to make unlimited transfers, obviously. So at the moment, I'm just building my team week by week. This week, I may be looking to hold, even with the yellow flags that we will inevitably talk about later on. But I don't think I've got too many fires to put out in my team. You might look at it and think I've got Bailey that I might need to put out as a fire, but for now I might just carry him, and I think I've got enough strength in the team to be able to do so.
No, that's great. I think your team looks pretty solid. I see with Mitra not starting. Was Andreas your first sub?
Yeah, Andreas was my first sub. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're one of those people that benefited sort of from the Mitra injury and him not starting and getting that Andreas assist. I think it was an assist, right?
The goal. Andreas goal.
No, he scored.
Did he score a goal? Oh, he scored.
Yeah, he
Okay.
scored. Yeah. Good
Yeah,
goal
yeah,
actually.
yeah. Oh yes, I did see the goal. It was quite a good goal.
Yeah.
On the left hand side. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got that points off your bench to give you 64 points. And I think it was a bit of a slight red arrow, right?
Yeah, it was, but in the grand scheme of things, I still see it as a bit of a red arrow because I think I kept pace with majority of the elite footballers around me. Managers around me. So yeah, it's technically yeah, it's a red arrow, but it's not detrimental by any stretch.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Jonnas, your team's up next, a massive 83 points. See you now you've joined me in the top 100k. How does it feel?
Nah, it feels good. I think it's the first time I've ever been here, so it's a bit unknown to me. But yeah, I've had a pretty good run of game weeks. The last 3 game weeks since I've wildcarded. I think prior to the wildcard, I was 1.7 million rank, and yeah, it's going good at the moment. I think I've focused on what I need to fix, and I think I made a few good decisions based on that. Most notably, the Foden decision in my wildcard has paid off like incredibly. And then here and there, I managed to pick players that just for 1 game week return. So I got Digne for the 1 game week. He got a clean sheet. Managed to get Castagna in for this game week, and he returned with a bonus point as well as a clean sheet. So very happy with how it's going currently. As you can see, there's a few things to look at, but we'll touch on that a bit later. And then, yeah, just finally, I'm quietly surprised and happy with the performance of Harry Kane. He's been performing week in, week out since I've got him. Nothing big, but a constant return. And I see just as we started the stream, he missed a penalty as well, his second penalty of the season, which is not great for me as I also had him as my captain on UCL. But anyway, Spurs managed to win that game 3-2. And yeah, I think he's going good with Sonny getting back into form. I'm happy that he's returning week in, week out. And then, yeah, I think there's a few players that I'm a bit stressed about. Like, I think we have to mention Pope. We brought him in for a good run of fixtures and he's returned pretty much nothing. So something to keep an eye on.
Just on that, Jonas, what does it seem like if we defend the punt on get injured immediately afterwards?
Funny enough, like the defenders I'm punting on is actually just like short-term punts. So, like Digne, I brought in to be on the bench and just play that 1 game week, and the same with Castagna. It was that 1 game week, and I hope he'll be ready by game week 12, next game week to play. I see on the official website it states he's got an eye injury, so I'm pretty sure that will be sorted by the weekend, as it's pretty important to the team, I think.
Yeah, I think Leicester conceded, but he went off before the goal came in, so it's quite a bit of a luck there. But it was a good good choice because I think he created a big chance as well that goal missed. So
Yeah.
if he'd scored that, then obviously it would have been an assist as well. So pretty sound choice there. Then on my side, 67 points for the game week. I had 2 free transfers, so I took out Perisic. I didn't, for the reasons for being that, yeah, his underlying data looked great, but I've been watching a lot of Spurs games lately, and it just seems like he's not there in terms of his pace. So he's not matching the pace of the game, and that prevents him from getting in as attacking positions as we've come to know him in the past few seasons. That he's been like quite a decent player. And then secondly, obviously being his age and the fitness issues that he had in the beginning of the season, I thought he was quite a bit of a rotation risk. And I really had Mitro on a yellow, so I decided to take him out. I downgraded him to Gay, who scored 1 point, unfortunately, getting a yellow card and conceding a goal. And then I upgraded Bailey, who was orange flagged, and I upgraded him to Trossard because I wanted Trossard for game week 12. Um, I think this is also the move we discussed on the pod last week. So I think that was pretty much stuck in the back of my mind for most of the week. The other option was to transfer out Bailey to either Almiron or to Eze for a 1 week punt, and both of them actually ended up scoring. So kind of a bit bummed about that. But I'm still happy with my team. I'm still happy with my rank. Still in the top 10K. I had a bit of a dip from 4K to 7K. But yeah, I still think it's a good start to the season for myself. I think it's the highest I've been at this stage of the season. So pretty much unfamiliar territory. But like Jonnas as well, just taking it week in, week out. Jaydin, lovely team. Lovely Liverpool. Please talk us through your team.
There's so much already in my team that I want out, and including the Liverpool players. But yeah, man, 37 points, very bad. A academic rank of almost 10 million by the looks of it. But yeah, but yeah, I captain Alan as usual, and then yeah, I just that teams didn't do great. I was very tempted on moving of rage transing Salah out for Bowen and for yeah, planning on taking a -4 to take out Salah and Tillemans for Bowen and Foden. Would have been a good decision in hindsight, but I mean, I think I'm still kind of happy now that I've held Salah. Um, yeah, man, I just not a great start to the season for me, but I'm looking forward to the rest of the couple games, which I think I'll definitely make up ground. Yeah, just as a reflection point, I was 200k game week 8 and wildcard in game week 9 dropped to 1.3 million since I wildcarded. So it just shows how terrible my wildcard is gone. But just as a reflection point, from moving forward for me for the next couple of seasons, I made the biggest mistake of betting against the best teams in the league, being Arsenal and City, and it's a big risk to take without Cancelo, Foden, Martinelli, etc. And they punished me as they should. And yeah, I don't think I'd ever make that mistake anytime soon again.
No, I can share your sentiment. Martinelli, I've also
Yeah,
been suffering by not owning him. Like
yeah.
he's
Can you
been,
have Martinelli, right? Or did you also take him out?
I don't think he doesn't have it as well.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm feasting alone. Okay, no,
No,
it's
you're
fine.
feasting alone on the Martinelli points. No, I think it was.
Yeah,
I think for game week 8 wildcard is Martinelli was probably like that one decision you had to decide on.
yeah.
Um, and like I looked at Zaha, Madison, and Foden, and I was like, between now and game week 12, I pretty much thought that all three of them would outscore him, which is why I didn't
Mm.
go with him on my wild card. Um, but yeah, I guess it's just one of those decisions. You can't have the ball.
Yeah.
Zaha is kind of looking like a stink at the moment. I think we expected a lot more from him. But who knows? I think they're playing Leicester this game week, which still looks leaky. So hopefully we'll get some Zaha points this game week. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just like with
So
last season, like the decisions I made last season went right for me. Like all the big decisions I made last season went right for me, and this season is the complete opposite. But now I think I still learned like a valuable lesson now that I would never had if I hadn't messed up so badly. So yeah, I'm
no, I
happy
think
for that
it's
though.
the variance between game week 8 and 9 wildcarders has been massive. Like
Yeah.
I think I told Jonas earlier on, like there was no way if I had to get wildcard in game week 9 that I wouldn't have Salah and Trent in my team. Like that fixture just looked too tasty. Everyone thought that Liverpool was going to roll Brighton over. I'm getting a bit of feedback. I'm not sure from who it is. Do you guys hear that as well?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
hear.
Okay.
Okay, I think it's
I think
gone
I'm on
now.
Cam's side.
Yeah. So then I think we'll move on just to discuss a bit of injury news. So there's been over the last few days some injuries to key FPL assets, namely Trent. So Trent is reported to be out for 2 to 3 game weeks. As you can see on the screen, he has ownership of 24%, which in my opinion is quite high. And then also his teammate Luis Diaz, he also got injured in the last game, and he's out right up until after the World Cup. So that's pretty much a big injury. Pretty much shakes up the Liverpool scene, as is now a spot for possibly getting in a different attacker from the team. As there was quite a bit of rotation, considering there was Jota, Nunes, Diaz, and Firmino kind of battling it out for 2 spots. And then last night, which would be Tuesday night, Reece James was injured in the Champions League. So he's rumored to be out for about 10 days, which means that he'll miss game week 11 and game week 12 and should hopefully be back for game week 13. That's currently what's being reported on timelines in terms of Twitter. And then we're still a bit in the dark with respect to Mitrovic. I know that Marcus Silva came out in the press conference last week, Thursday, basically saying that Mitrovic was on the grass and there's a possibility that he'd be fit for their game last Sunday against West Ham. But I think that was pretty much a bluff, just as a from a point of view, just to make sure that like Moyes didn't know what the team would be. But hopefully he'll be fit for Bournemouth. I don't think the injury was too hectic. I think based on the reports that have come out in the past week, it was basically a reoccurrence from the injury that he picked up on international duty, and that he actually shouldn't have played that game, that second game for Serbia, because he wasn't actually fit. So yeah, hopefully that he manages to overcome that injury in the week and is fit to play on the weekend. I think they play on Saturday.
For me, that injury just seems like something that's gonna go on and on and on and on. Like next week comes and be like, oh, you might be fit, and then he comes off the bench or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, like
Hopefully, we
it's
get some concrete news this week, like
yeah.
whether he's fit and training photos, etc. But at the moment, it's not looking like. It just seems like there's kind of setbacks, a lot of setbacks in his
Yeah,
recovery at the moment.
I think, for me personally, I think that like Fulham as a team that have come up from the Championship, like before the season started, there was like maybe 6 games that they said, okay, we need to target these games, and one of the promoted teams will definitely be that. So they're playing Bournemouth, and I think they might even take a risk against Bournemouth and start it, even if it's not 100% fit, because it's like a vital game in their season. It just makes sense. It made sense for them to not play him against West Ham away. Um, but like I can see them actually taking a risk, even if it's not 100% fit, and actually start him against Bournemouth. Um, yeah, that's pretty much what I think about it. But we'll see.
Cam,
Cam,
anything
what
to
are
add
your
on your
yeah?
side?
Yeah, I agree. I think Mitrovic will start. I think even if he's close to 100%, if he's 90%, 80%, I think he'll start. I think the fact that the official website had him at 75%, even the previous game week, suggests that it can't be that serious of a foot injury in terms of he's not going to be out too long term. And I think a game like Bournemouth is an ideal game for him to come back into. I'm confident he'll start. So that's why when I was talking about my team earlier, I didn't think I had too many fires to put out, because I think his yellow flag, I don't think he's going to be there much longer. I think we'll get some positive news regarding Mitrovic.
Yeah, also
Yeah,
something I picked up. Sorry, I picked up like the last, let's say, 3 4 weeks that the website have been like giving flags a bit easier. Like people just go off. Like at the start of the season, someone had to be like stretched off the field or like serious injury to get a flag. Where now it's like every second player that might just have a minor niggle or something they weren't spotted in training for one day, then they get flagged. Like Harry Kane was flagged for injury and like didn't even look close. Yeah, he had a knock on his ankle, but it wasn't something bad at all. The fact that it was taken off just before the end um, was probably the reason why they thought it's more serious, but then they removed it again. So I think just don't overreact to the flags. Maybe wait for the press conferences before you make your transfers and decisions.
Yeah, and also on the Kane injury, like he's just finished. I think he played 90, right? Like Jonas, 90 minutes in the
Yeah, more or
UCL
less.
game. Scored a penalty, got an assist, missed the penalty, so he's pretty much fit. I wouldn't worry about Kane. Um,
Camuso, what are your thoughts on the injuries to Trent and Diaz and how they can potentially affect Liverpool?
I think the Diaz injury is a key one. Obviously, he's been a star performer in what's been a very average season by Liverpool standards. Trent, however, I think could be a blessing in disguise. I think he's been getting some harsh, albeit fair, treatment by the media because of his poor performances. So I think some time out of the team could do him and Liverpool some good. But yeah, I think injuries as a whole for a team like Liverpool, who, you know, albeit they've got quality players, they have actually got limited players to select from. So I think injuries to a team like Liverpool, I think, is always going to affect them going forward. The Diaz one's, as I said, the worst one because he's been brilliant for us up to now. But having said that, you know, we put 7 past an average Rangers team today, so who knows? You know, in the next few weeks, we may well find a new way of playing. And I think sometimes questions have to be asked of the manager as well. He's been brilliant up to now, but I think when you have a one-dimensional approach, I think eventually other teams are going to find you out. And I think that's what's happened with Liverpool is our gung-ho approach has caught up to us now, and I think other teams have found out how to play against Liverpool, and it's becoming a bit too obvious.
So what do you think has been going wrong for Liverpool at the moment?
As I say, I think we've been playing this style for a number of years, so it was only a matter of time that teams were going to find out how to play against us. If you look at ever since Klopp's come to the Premier League, he's had limited success against certain teams, such as Brighton, for example. Newcastle has always been a sketchy fixture since Klopp's come into Liverpool. And the reason being is because those teams have got or always had half-decent managers. Rafa Benitez, for example, Eddie Howe, even now, I rate him. And they've always found a way to play against us. And I think if those teams are sort of the standard bearer of how to play against Liverpool, then surely even better teams, your Man Cities, your Arsenals, are eventually going to find out a way as well. And that's what's happened this season. And we've not necessarily changed either. We're also very thin in midfield. We haven't got enough options there, and we don't possess a number 10 either. So yeah, there's a lot more negative with Liverpool than there is positive. But having said that, we have enough quality players where I think we can still mount a challenge to get into the top 4.
And just the one from my side. I know, like in the last Champions League game, you guys played a 4-2-3-1, right? And if I'm not mistaken, you played that on the weekend as well, right? So with Luis Diaz being out now, do you foresee you going back to 4-3-3, or do you still suspect the 4-2-3-1 with maybe Carvalho coming in instead?
Well, I think there might be a change of formation because we don't have the dynamism of Diaz anymore. So that has to be compensated with either packing out the midfield or going all out attack. Now, against a team like Man City, I think Klopp might be a little bit more reserved, much like he was tonight. And, you know, he played Firmino in the number 10 role, left Núñez as a non-striker. And effectively, off the ball, we were more of a 4-5-1. And I think with the current situation that Liverpool are in, I think 4-5-1 would suit them really well. It gives us a lot more option. Núñez as a target man, but then also Bobby Firmino, knowing how good he is off the ball, just gives us that number 10 option as well. So I think Klopp needs to think outside the box a little bit. That's what he did tonight. It seemed to work. I'm not saying we're going to put City to the sword because I don't think we will, but I think we'll give a better account of ourselves than we have done in the last few weeks.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear. Just before, I know we really much on the Liverpool topic, and that's where we would like to go. But I just want to conclude the injury watch chat. I know there's been news on Twitter today about Jesus being particularly injured because he wasn't spotted in training today. So just to clarify that, Arteta did say that I think he picked up pretty much a knock against his head in the last game against Liverpool. But he's just been rested and he won't appear in the Europa League game tomorrow. So he's being rested for that, but he's not injured. It's just a pure rest. That's just for those Jesus owners who might be concerned about a potential injury. So we kind of like to, as we spoke about Liverpool previously, continue that conversation and just by looking at a few of the key stats that they've had or posted so far this season. I know it's only been 10 game weeks, and I think they only played 9 games in those 10 game weeks. But just from a high level, looking at any key differences in their stats this season compared to last season, and for me, what stood out mostly has been they don't seem to be struggling with in attack as much. I think the major concern comes in defense, and particularly how they are performing away from home. So this, if you can see on the right hand side on the screen, last season the XG per match against them away from home was 1.18. Whereas this season it's 1.46. So Cam, do you think there's like a particular reason as to why Liverpool are struggling away from home this season compared to last?
It comes with confidence and mentality. So obviously, if the more football matches you lose, naturally as a team, you're not going to be happier playing in front of the opposition supporters as much as you would be playing in front of your own. And then mentality-wise, when you've got injuries and then you're having to bring in younger players, they're probably not been in that situation before, that hostile situation where you're playing in front of the opposition. You know, you're sort of the second team in terms of confidence and the way you're playing anyway. So bringing them into that hostile environment just means that you're asking a lot more of them than you normally should be, but also because they're not used to it, you're going to struggle. So as I said, it's nothing that I've not seen before with Liverpool. It's nothing that I've not seen before with any other team either. I just trust that we've got the right manager to be able to turn it around. But yeah, away from home, even before Klopp, I was always sketchy of Liverpool away from home. You know, there's nothing like Anfield and under the lights. Everybody says it, but Liverpool away from home has always been particularly sketchy.
And as a Liverpool fan, do you think what is the pressure on Klopp like? Is there talks about him being sacked? Do you think it will happen?
No, I don't think it'll happen. But I mean, I don't think it'll happen right now. I mean, you know, in the foreseeable future, who knows? But let's get two things straight. I think bigger managers have lost their position for worse in other clubs. And secondly, if you look back to what happened at Tuchel, for example, and he wasn't there even half as long as what Klopp was. And then secondly, we're in an era where immediate success is kind of wanted so badly that, you know, bad decisions can be and have been made. Not saying they have been at Liverpool, but certainly at other clubs. So Liverpool are probably looking around thinking, well, if we get rid of Klopp, who do we go to? And there's not many options. And then secondly, the worst case scenario is if we get rid of Klopp, where does he go? And if he went to, God forbid, another Premier League team, I think Liverpool are definitely stuffed. So I think with all that being said, at the moment, I think Liverpool will be patient and they deserve to give Klopp a bit more time than just 10 weeks, because he's changed the course for Liverpool dramatically from where they were to where they are now. So yeah, I don't think he'll go. I don't think he should go. But yeah, it doesn't mean to say that the question can't be asked. They're in bad form, right? So it's only fair.
Yeah, just to add on that, like as a United supporter, like we haven't really had a manager where we could like get behind for a long time until we had we were behind Ole for a bit, and I think now everyone's like really behind Ten Hag, and will probably be for the long term, regardless of results at the moment. But I think with Klopp is that he's so embedded in the Liverpool culture, and he's like the one that started the success story. You know what I mean? So I think that definitely that the supporters will have much more patience with Klopp than they would have with any other manager. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he's brought unbelievable success, but I think when you look at other teams and their success stories, I use Chelsea as an example. What happened with Tuchel, the dynamic in way that happened, and what have you. It's all a matter of opinion, but again, it seemed harsh to the outside world, and it forever will do. But with Klopp, if he was to go now, we're in such bad form. Would anybody really raise an eyebrow 6 months down the line and think, actually, he should have been given a bit more time? That's the era we live in. Unfortunately, decisions like this get made left, right, and centre. Personally, though, I think he's earned enough time at Liverpool, and I think he'll be given that personally. But yeah, in amongst the supporters, that conversation doesn't exist. But I think you've got to be realistic, and I think most supporters are realistic and think, well, if he does get sacked, we know the reason why. It isn't because he's fallen out with anybody. It's clearly because we're in bad form, and they just want to see a dramatic change. Whether they'll get that or not is another question. I don't think you can go to much better after Klopp, really.
The clubs also run quite differently, though. So the policy and the way Chelsea run the club is much different to the way that Liverpool end up would run the club. So that also in terms of that. But for me personally, like when I watched Liverpool or since the beginning of the season, I kind of felt that the transfer policy was a bit weird this season. I think Núñez wasn't the best replacement for Mane, because I haven't watched Liverpool much, or obviously as much as you have, but it always seems that there's a lot of one-dimensional play in Liverpool, in the sense that everyone just wants to score goals in attack. And now you're replacing Mane, who brought that grafted and did all the hard work, and the one that actually put in the miles for the team. And now you're replacing with someone like Núñez, who's also just want to score goals, be up top, and and the same like Diaz. Diaz is also very kind of a one-trick pony, in the sense where he's just running and cutting inside and shooting. And it looks like Salah's the one that's not benefiting from that, because he is the one that seems to be being out wide, and has to be the one that's trying to make chances and assisting everybody.
Yeah, like before, when we had Mane and Salah shared the responsibility, and it was only probably until Jota came in where we had like a three-way even split of shared responsibility in terms of scoring goals, at least. Firmino, don't get me wrong, has got involved, but his work is more recognised off the ball as opposed to putting it in the back of the net. Now, in terms of the Mane replacement, that was definitely Luis Diaz, who was the Mane replacement. So I just want to set the record straight on that. Núñez was brought in to try and offer Liverpool a different dynamism altogether. We haven't had a target man like Núñez since the Fernando Torres days. So I think Klopp tried to, much like he would on the football pitch, he tried to match what Man City were doing off the football pitch. It was almost sort of matching a substitution with a substitution. It was a tactical move to bring in Núñez, because obviously City had brought in Haaland, right? So Liverpool had to do something. It hasn't proved to be successful, or as successful as the Haaland transfer, but then again, which transfer has? Let's be honest. I think in terms of where Liverpool are right now, I think the injuries could prove to be a bit of a positive. It'll give Liverpool, or it'll force Liverpool's hand to play a different way and give the opposition a different way to think and play against Liverpool, which is what we need right now. At the moment, Liverpool are a bit too predictable, and that's why they're getting caught out.
Jonnas, anything to add on Liverpool? I mean, you've been supporting a striking team for years now, so you're quite used to it. That was a joke.
Yeah. No.
Coming from a United supporter.
No, I think what Cam touched on at the start is very true. Like, even though we've not really done anything in the last 10 years, like if you have to ask a Spurs fan, like who was the big manager that put us on the map or closed the gap to the other clubs, everyone would have said Pochettino. And I think straight after that Champions League final loss against Liverpool, like everything just went to shit pretty much. And we gave him quite a lot of time to fix it. And then when the sacking came, it was not really expected, but then we understood in a way. And I think we'll never really understand why he left, because he's the guy that closed the gap between Spurs and let's say the top 3-4 teams. So I think it's very similar with Liverpool, where Liverpool were like outside of for the last, let's say, early 2010s, late, yeah, let's say 2010, 12. They were like outside the top four clubs. They were pretty much fifth, sixth, seventh, and Klopp in 2015 brought them back or started bringing them back to where they want to be. So I can completely understand as a Liverpool fan how they might feel regarding the situation. And you don't compete at the top level of European and British football by being lucky. So I think they just have to be patient. I think the Premier League does not allow you to have a lot of patience, especially the clubs. Like as you mentioned, like we want immediate success, and I think that's the biggest problem with Spurs, as well as Manchester United over the last few years. It's like we get a manager in and we want success. If there's no success, then we move them on. Where if you do look at the Arsenal approach, where they backed Arteta even if he started poorly, and look what he's doing now. The same group of players, very similar to what happened with Jurgen at first. Because when Klopp got Liverpool, they had, in my opinion, a very poor team. He worked with the team, got his recruitment right, and year by year, season by season, they improved. I think that's the way to go. But obviously, different models for different clubs. So yeah, that's pretty much my take on the situation. I'd personally like Klopp to stay in the Premier League because I think he's like he brings something different to the Premier League that we've not seen in years. He's not the same as Pep. Um, so yeah,
Well, 80 minutes ago, I thought Klopp was definitely looking at the sack, and then the fact that we put 7 past Rangers since then just gave him a bit more time. It gives him the City game at least, but I'm not going to hide the fact that if we get absolutely slaughtered by Man City, which is not out of the question either, the way they're playing. If that happens, there will be eyebrows raised and questions asked yet again. Ultimately, it comes down to the same question, not just for Liverpool fans, but for any football supporter. If your team gets embarrassed, there's a way to lose. If your team's getting embarrassed left, right, and centre, and they're not putting in a shift, there's no effort. You're paying good money to watch that team play. You don't want that from your team. You won't want that from anything in life, let alone your football team. But when it's your football team, it matters that little bit more. So, ultimately, if Liverpool put in a shift, he'll get the time and he deserves the time. But if it goes on any longer and we can see visibly that these players are just dropping their heads and they're not bothered anymore, then there'll be questions asked. Of course, they will.
Yeah, we've been through that as well as United supporters last season. Few games against Liverpool, how you guys thrashed us home and away, and games against City. So yeah, it's been tough as well. But just to kind of bring it back to FPL, like the question still stands on the slide: what to do with Liverpool? Chad, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's quite tricky. I mean, I think everyone, when the news broke of the City Arsenal blank in Game Week 12, people's minds were instantly on the question as to who to captain in Game Week 12, and a lot of people had Salah earmarked for that game week. Obviously, with Liverpool performing as badly as they have over the last couple of game weeks, and particularly Salah, who's pretty much been absent in the Premier League. I know tonight he's basically come off the bench and scored a hat-trick in what was it, like 15 minutes?
15 minutes, yeah.
And
Yeah,
assist.
a 15-minute hat-trick and an assist. I think that obviously will have people talking. And I don't think necessarily City's the best game to judge whether or not he's back up to speed in the Prem. So I think for me personally, when I was when I was playing my wild card, I was pretty much earmarking bringing in Salah in Game Week 12. I was thinking, Kane has a tough fixture against United. It would be an easy switch to move from one premium to another with 2 transfers. Based on Salah's performance in the last couple of weeks, I'm more reluctant to do that now. So I'm still kind of on the fence with regards to that. And I mean, West Ham have been good defensively this season as well. So I don't think they're going to get rolled over as much as people expect in Game Week 12. So I think it's quite a difficult quite a difficult position to be in if you own Liverpool assets. I know on the screen we have the sort of attacking assets for their different forwards. Obviously, Diaz is out until after the World Cup, so you can pretty much ignore him if you do have him now. I think it's safe to say that he is a sell, particularly considering how the other midfielders in his price bracket have been performing over the last 2 to 3 game weeks. So I think if you are looking for a captain in Game Week 12, that's certainly a decision you need to make, whether or not to bring in a Liverpool player. But I don't think there's a rush from what we've seen.
Yeah.
One player that is particularly drawing my attention is Firmino, actually. I know earlier in the pod, Cam said he's more known for his work off the ball rather than his goal output. But I mean, even tonight in the Champions League, we saw he started and he scored 2 goals. So Cam, what do you think about Firmino as an FPL asset? Do you think he's a buy, or do you think we should look elsewhere within the Liverpool attack?
No, he's a definite option without a doubt. I think he's at a reasonable price point as well, and he's clearly performing. And I think while he's performing, especially in a Liverpool team who, over the years, we've come to know and trust, at least, I think he's a definite option without a doubt. It was only last season that Jota, in the same perspective, was a definite option. In fact, for majority of last season, he was a must-have. So I think the same can be said of Firmino at this moment in time. The problem I have with Firmino is longevity. How long can he sustain this current form? At the moment, he looks good and he's a flavour of the month, but everybody has that curse of the commentator, don't they? As soon as you bring in that player, that's it. It just goes, it just drops. I don't know why, but it happens, and I'm afraid that might happen with Firmino.
And who do you think, if you guys are playing a front three against City this weekend, who do you think that front three will be?
I think it'll be the same team, more or less, that you saw tonight, if I'm honest. I think the whole 11 will be more or less the same. I can't remember, did Fabinho start tonight? I don't think he did.
I think he started.
Yeah, he started with Henderson.
With
And
Henderson.
Salah will probably start as well.
Yeah. I think Salah will start. That's it. Yes, sorry. Salah will start instead of Elliott. And I think we played Carvalho on the left. And I think that could be Jota instead. Having said that, them two actually played really well tonight. So, they've could be staking a claim with the Diaz injury, could be staking a claim to pick up that one on last spot, if I'm honest. But yeah, I think you'll see more or less the same team, certainly the same formation that you saw tonight. Personnel-wise, Salah will 100% come in. I think midfield-wise, you'll see Fabinho, Henderson, and Thiago again. And I think Firmino will, I think, stay in the team. Nunes could be pushed out to the left. He used to play a bit on the left for Benfica as well. He scored against Liverpool playing on the left and caused Trent and Van Dijk all sorts of problems in the Champions League. So that's something we could do. Firmino deserves to start 100%. So yeah, there are options. It's not as though we're completely limited. It's just a different style that you're going to see now. You're not going to see that gung-ho attack or that Gengen press that we're so used to familiarizing Liverpool with. It's going to be slightly different approach.
Yeah, just on the Firmino thing as well. Also that a lot of fixtures are coming up now, so it's now Game Week 11 coming up, and it's a midweek game. So Firmino's not as young as he was, a couple of years ago, where you could play every second game. So I think that is definitely, if you are planning on buying him, also be aware that it could definitely easily get benched to one. I don't see him playing 2 games in a week. Yeah,
100%.
Cool. Jonnas, anything to add on the Liverpool chat, or are you happy to move on?
Yeah, just quickly, I think Firmino is a good shout, but he's pretty much in the same price bracket as Jesus, right?
Yeah.
So you have to ask yourself the question: what team would you rather go for? I know we need to consider the blank in Game Week 12, but if you do make a decision post Game Week 12, you have to ask yourself what is the better option. I think Jesus is the better option. Arsenal have good fixtures from 13 to 16. Is their talisman. You won't sit on the bench for any games or any Premier League games if he's available. So you have to consider that. And then, there's the rotation thing. And also, he'll play in every Premier League game because they're not playing in Champions League, where, as we saw tonight, Firmino might be rotated due to Champions League. I know there's going to be a 2-week break of Champions League football, but then we start with the Carabao Cup again, if I'm not mistaken, early November. So that's from my side. That's pretty much it on
Yeah,
the Liverpool assets.
just to add on that as well, like on the list, as we can see that of the 4 options that are available to us now, there's only one midfielder out there, and that's Salah, and the rest of the other 3 is. Can you guys hear me?
Strikers.
Yeah, the rest others are all forwards. Yeah.
Did I cut out there now? Sorry, did you guys hear me?
No, we heard you clearly.
Oh, but yeah, the others are all forwards. Yeah, so you have to consider that as well.
Cool. I think we can move on from the Liverpool chat. And move on to the game week 11 fixtures. So this game week, the deadline is on Friday at 7:30 South African time, which is 6:30 UK time. So just keep an eye out on that. I think everyone has become quite accustomed to a Saturday deadline. So just keep an eye out on that and make sure that you change your team before the deadline starts. And the first game of the game week is Brentford against Brighton. And a lot of people have their eye on a Brighton player, whether as a defensive replacement for Reece James or potentially a captaincy shot in game week 12 in the form of Trossard. I think Brentford have been a bit shaky defensively the last few game weeks. I think they conceded 4 to Newcastle over the weekend. And I think the game before that, I'm not sure who they played, but they also conceded a few goals. So I think they might become a team to target, in my opinion. But I do believe they play better at home than they play away. I watched the Brighton game as well over the weekend, and Trossard did look quite isolated against Spurs. So definitely want to keep an eye out on. What are you guys' thoughts on this game? Jaydin?
You guys can go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm a Ivan Tony owner. So yeah, they're not looking that great from what I've seen, but I think Ivan Tony is still a good option, man. Like Brentford will score, and when they score, he's most likely to get involved in it. And like we saw, that even though there was thrashed 4-1, if Tony gets a penalty, he's going to score that penalty. Like I had no doubt in my mind he was, that he was going to score that penalty. So I think that's one good thing about Tony, and I like him. I think he's a very good player, very reliable. I do think that defensively they look very shaky though, and I haven't really watched the Brighton versus Spurs game, but Brighton still look very good attacking. So I think they definitely could still be a very high scoring game. But I don't see Brentford as a team that will back off. They seem to a team that will kind of match you and try and score as many goals as they can.
Cam, anything to add? Any Brighton or Brentford players in your team or players that you have your eye on?
Well, much like Jaydin, I'm also a Tony owner myself. I moved from Pascal Gross a few weeks ago before I played my wildcard. So, and Trossard is obviously is another option, I guess. If this game was played at the Amex, I'd be all over Brighton 100%. But the fact that it's being played at Brentford's ground, I think it's going to be a slightly tighter affair. I don't see there being a boatload of goals, but the Friday night fixture does always bring a surprise. So the fact that it's on Friday night, I'm a little bit superstitious like that, and I do think, I do think we could have a few goals in this one. I predicted 2-2, maybe something like that. So I'm not overly keen on either defensive assets in this particular game. But if I was planning for the weeks ahead, then yeah, a Brighton defender does appeal, I guess.
So Tony, I think you say.
That would get you back up into the top 1 mil, just like that, Jaydin.
Exactly what I need.
Yeah, no. I'm expecting a close encounter, not Brighton rolling Brentford over, but I still think Brighton will win that game. And then on the Saturday, there's a few games: Leicester against Palace, Fulham, Bournemouth, Wolves, Forest, and Spurs, Everton. Any games that stand out for you guys from an FPL point of view?
For me personally, I think that first game. What are you saying, Chad?
I said the Wolves Forest game looks like it's going to be a nice one.
No, definitely not. But yeah, for me, I think the Leicester Palace game will be a very interesting game. We will have keepers pretty much 2 of the top 3 chosen keepers will be involved in Ward and Coyote.
And
We'll
Iverson.
have an Iverson. We'll have Zaha. We'll have Madison. We'll have Castagne. We'll have a lot of players. We have Gay. So I think that's we can continue that list until tomorrow. But I think it's a big end in terms of FPL assets. Probably the biggest of the weekend, except the Liverpool, if you exclude the Liverpool City game. And I think it could be a high scoring game. I think Palace usually at home it doesn't tend to be too high a scoring game. They're a bit more defensively solid at home. But I think Palace do tend to be a bit more adventurous when they go away from home. And also we know what Leicester can do attacking wise. So I think that's definitely a game to keep an eye on. I've personally got 2 definite starters in my team in Zaha and Madison. And then I'll still see what I decide based on if Castagna probably plays, but he'll probably be on my bench because I'm planning on taking out Reece James.
Just to add on that, I see many goals happening in this game, and I don't know why, but with regards to Palace, I don't know if Vieira changes the approach this season, but they seem much more attacking, or they're just like the amount of players he's playing with Edward, Eze, Olise, Zaha, and like basically 5 attackers.
And Ayu.
And Ayu, yeah, and they're basically just playing 1 defensive midfielder. So definitely, given Leicester's defensive performances and Palace not being that great, I definitely see this could easily be a 3-3 game or 4-3.
Yeah, I also predict 3-3. Cool. The next game, Fulham Bournemouth. I think the only thing pretty much here is whether Mitra's fit or not. He's fit, great, keep him, start him. And then I think a lot of people Andreas has just scored in the last game week, so a lot of people will be considering starting him as well against Bournemouth. We've been leaky, particularly away from home, not as much as at home, but away from home it's a different chat. I think that's pretty much the only thing to consider. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything else to add.
The new manager doing a good job there, though. The interim manager at Bournemouth, he seems to be stabilizing the club a bit.
Yeah.
I saw the new owner, with the potential owner. He was at the match over the weekend, so it looks like that's happening soon. So they might just be getting a manager anytime soon. So it looks like that deal's being finalized in terms of buying the club.
Yeah.
This season, though, if you don't mind, this season has been Project Target Bournemouth pretty much all season. And if I'm honest, other than Liverpool and Man City, they've pretty much passed every test, unfortunately. So, who's to say that Bournemouth, even if Mitrovic does start, because let's be honest, even Salah blanked against Bournemouth and we scored 9 goals against them. So who's to say that Mitrovic, even if he does start, could blank? Are we missing a trick in not looking at Bournemouth assets, if I'm honest? Because a fire that I've got to put out in my team eventually is Leon Bailey. So someone I've looked to replace him with is Philip Billing. And I think Bournemouth's fixtures up to the World Cup look reasonable. So I'm thinking, well, if Bailey's going to be injured, which it looks like he is, and I'm not going to play him, I might as well bring in somebody that is going to play. And he's fairly attacking as well. But I don't know what you guys think.
No, I like the Billing shout actually. I think previously in the last Premier League campaign, he's changed his position in the team. He used to play a lot deeper, but he's actually playing as an attacking mid in Bournemouth's team now. So he's had it all change from 2 seasons back. So he scored. I think he scored over the weekend and got an assist if I'm not mistaken. So I think he just scored. Yeah, he just scored. No, but he's looking good. Definitely a better option than Bailey, in my opinion. Not a bad shout. Good fixtures up until the World Cup, like you said. But I mean, if you don't have any other fires to put out, then that's a great transfer. But I don't think a lot of people will be as lucky as you are in terms of the position that they find themselves in with their teams.
No. I think my idea of looking at Belling is similar to people looking at Dominic Solanke. I think going into game week 9 and 10, it was target Dominic Solanke, bring him in, and he's the guy. The Twitter community went wild over it. So I'm just trying to look at another option and think, well, I don't really want to lose Mitrovic just yet. So maybe I need to look at another option. And I think Billing stands out because I think Bournemouth, on the face of it, have actually stood up quite well to certain tasks, especially since they've got rid of Scott Parker as well. I think they've passed certain eye tests, well, from my perspective anyway.
Just to add on that, yeah, I also think Billing's a decent shot, but in the same price bracket, there is a player like Ize, which is a much more reliable team. I think Ize is about 5.5, 5.6, which is similar price to Billing. So I think I'll definitely choose him over someone like Billing, just given that he's on set pieces, he's on free kicks, I think corners as well, and yeah, Palace are just much more attacking team. And he scored this weekend. Yeah, he scored this weekend.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's appealing, and
Yeah.
I have considered him as well. But
Yeah.
it's just the consistency of minutes. That's with Eze. That's my only doubt. But the coming weeks will tell. You know, if he starts more games.
Yeah, the upside is higher with Eze though. Yeah, I think he's been starting every match. Most matches he's been starting under the end of the season, and he's been looking good. He's been looking good. Yeah, I don't think there's really a much big of a minutes concern with Eze.
And he's on some set pieces as well, if I'm not mistaken.
And he's a fun player to own, man. He looks, he's a good silky player. But so it's like a fun player to own.
Cool. Next game is Wolves Forest. I have nothing to add on that fixture. And then I think the Spurs Everton fixture we'll dive into when we discuss captaincy. So I think we'll skip that one for now. Chelsea, Villa, pretty much whether or not Reece James starts or not. I think that's pretty much between other than Sterling, the only big FPL asset we have from Chelsea. Some people might still have Cucurella. Some people might even have taken a punt on Chilwell last game week. But they basically rotated their whole team in the last game week. So, I mean, Potter's playing Potter roulette. And which we've become quite accustomed to him doing at Brighton. So he's finally done that at Chelsea. And it'll be quite interesting to see how their team changes in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, pretty much nothing. Just keep an eye out on any James injury news. And then based on your team and the fires you have to put out in your team, whether or not you decide to potentially keep him. But I think he's going to be out for a minimum of 2 game weeks, possibly 3. So in that case, he's pretty much a sell in my opinion.
Just to add on that game as well, big game I think for Villa as well. Steven Gerrard looks a lot of fan unrest amongst everybody. So if this game goes horribly wrong for him, it definitely could be a sack for Gerrard. So
he's the favourite for the sack at the moment.
Yeah, we might see performance from if the players are backing him. We might see performance, but it doesn't look likely. Players they're not looking good. They're not looking good.
Cool. Then another fixture we'll discuss with captaincy will be Arsenal Leeds. Keep that running for the captaincy discussion. And then looking at United Newcastle. What do you guys think about this game? I think it's going to be quite tight.
Yeah.
United they've won their last 2 games. We looked a lot better against Everton, even though we got seeded first. We've been looking a lot better, more defensively sound. The attack seems to be a bit more secure, better fluidity between the players, better understanding. Newcastle just put 4 past Brentford, so they'll be also on a high. But obviously, this game is at Old Trafford. 1-1, my prediction. What do you guys think?
I think it's going to be a tough game.
I think we'll win, but it'll be a tight one.
Yeah, I think it'll be a really tough game.
We normally do well against Newcastle, from what I can remember. So I reckon we could do well.
And
I think
I know a lot of
United. Sorry.
A lot of us own Trippier. So do you think he's a bench or do you start him?
I think you start him. Decent, lots of upside with Trippier. I mean, even in the City game, when they played against City, they lost I think the game was 3-3, and Trippier walked away with 7-8 points because he just scored a free kick. So the type of player that Trippier is. So I would start him.
No, I don't think you can own a player like Trippier and bench him and be 100% happy. I think the entire game week you'll think, did I make the right decision by benching him? Because he has potential on attacking and defensive platforms or whatever you want to call it. So I think like if you have Trippier, play him. Yeah, it probably depends on your bench. If you've got like let's say a 11th outfield player, then it's something to consider. You can probably put him first on your bench. But if you're gonna have to look at like let's say 4 or 5 million assets, you have to start him no matter the opposition. I think you can put him in the same category as well. You can put him in a category above Reece James this season so far, and you won't bench James if he's fit, no matter who he's playing against. So yeah, as I said, I'd like it to be a 0-all for the Pope and Trippier clean sheet, and definitely
We've
bonuses.
been wishing for that for 3 game weeks now already.
Now we'll get it. No worries. We'll get it this game week.
Pope will give you a 20
Yeah.
point in one game. We can make up for everything else.
I
The
don't
type of
see
keeper he
Hopefully.
is.
Touching on that,
Okay.
I've been impressed with Man
No.
United recently. I think they've turned a corner. They're playing well. They're looking cohesive up front. But I do think the Newcastle fixture is a test because they've also turned a corner, and it's not the Newcastle that we've been used to over the last few years. Before it was, Project Target Newcastle in seasons gone by, but now they've got assets and players that you probably want to pick. Going into this week, I was speaking to Jonnas, and I was a little bit reluctant to bench Trippier myself. So the Reece James injury has forced my hand, so it means that I get to play Trippier. So I'm buzzing about that. And the main reason being not because it's Man United particularly, but on the face of it, Man United do give away enough free kicks in really awkward positions. He's on set pieces, so I think he can capitalise. It just depends on who plays up front. If it's Callum Wilson, then I fancy Newcastle to score. If it's Isak, I think from set pieces they might not score. From open play maybe, but it'll be an interesting game nonetheless. I think it'll be tight, but I'm happy that I get to play Trippier at least.
Yeah, just to add on to what Cam just said, I think like Newcastle players are getting into form as well. Players like Almiron now, the previous game, Bruno Gomes that scored 2 as well. I think these are like generally non-scoring players. If you look at previous years and a general positioning in the team, and they're returning with assists and goals recently. Which brings in Trippier even more, in my opinion, because you get a guy that can produce a cross, that can produce a good ball into the final third, and you've got players available currently in good form. That just it's just the recipe for assists and bonus points and goals. So I think Trippier is somebody I'll definitely play. I don't think I'll ever put him on my bench. If I do take him out of my starting 11, will probably go straight out of the team for someone else. But I think it's an exciting game to look forward to. I think it could be a good Premier League classic. It sounds funny, but I think it could really be a good watch for the first time in years.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. And then just the last game we'll be covering on the Game Week 11 fixtures is Southampton West Ham. I think pretty much Bowen, if you have him, definitely play good fixture. Seems to be picking up a bit of form. And he's quite a streaky player, as we know from last season particularly. And then obviously if you have a West Ham defender, it's also a good fixture to play your defender in against Southampton. So then we'll move on to captaincy, and I think for me there's three standout captaincy options this week. It's pretty much a battle between Kane, Jesus, and Haaland. So Cam, maybe you can start us off. Where are you with respect to captaincy? Who do you think is the best option for this game week?
So the best option in my opinion is probably Kane, then Jesus, and then after that it's take your pick. I don't think Haaland is. I don't think he's not an option, but I don't think he's gonna get the freedom of the pitch like he's been getting in the previous weeks. But then again, I've just given him the curse of the commentator, haven't I? So he'll probably get a hat trick now. But no, I think the order that you've got it there. If I could have Harry Kane in my team, I'd love to do so. I think he'll do damage against Everton. I think Jesus will lick his lips against a team like Leeds, but then again, Martinelli's a captain option as well, because I just think the way he's playing, and especially with Leeds down the flanks, I think they're awful, and they expose so much space. I think someone like Martinelli can definitely capitalise. He did so against Liverpool, so I think he can definitely do that against Leeds. But yeah, Haaland's one of them. He's always going to be in amongst the goals no matter what. So in terms of a captaincy option, sorry, I think he's definitely there. Whether or not he'll get 2 or more, which is what ideally you want from your captain, will remain to be seen. But I think that there's more to be said about Liverpool than Haaland in that fixture. What Liverpool will turn up. If it's the shaky Liverpool that we got against Brighton, then I think Haaland should be a triple captaincy option. But if it's the one that we got against Arsenal, where a few decisions were a bit dubious, then I think it could be a really tight affair. It wouldn't surprise me if it's a 0-0 or a 1-1 even.
Do you mind repeating that? I'm joking.
No.
I didn't like your Martinelli comment. It makes me a bit concerned as an yeah, it's just he punished me in game week 10.
Yeah, he punished me too. But I live in Leeds, right? So I've got an insight into how the Leeds fans think and feel. My dad supports Leeds, but obviously I support Liverpool. So I've got a fair insight into both those camps. So Leeds fans this season are obviously excited. They're doing okay. There's no issues in terms of the way they're playing or setting up or what have you. But there are obvious problems the way they play, and the exposures in their team are there for everybody to see. So somebody like Martinelli and I think Saka, because on the flanks, Leeds are defensively terrible. And I think those two players are going to be licking their lips. But that doesn't mean to say that Leeds can't take the game to Arsenal either. They've stood toe to toe with most teams this season, have Leeds, and they haven't really backed down. So I can see a 3-2. I think usually Leeds and Arsenal games do throw up a lot of goals, so I can see a lot of goals in this one. But I haven't decided whether it's going to be all the goals in favour of Arsenal or if it's going to be shared amongst both teams and it's going to be a close encounter. But I think because it's at Elland Road as well, I think there's a part of me that's thinking it could be a 3-2, 4-3, something like that. Much like another classic, like Jonnas mentioned about United and Newcastle.
And what just before I moved on to Jaydin, Jonas about his opinion on Kane. Like, I think this season Kane has been pretty much ticking along, like a goal every game week, that type of thing, and we haven't seen his explosiveness as much as we've seen in previous seasons. So do you think like this is the game in which we get the brace and the assist or even the hat trick? Like, do you think this is the game?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So the best way to answer that is we've never had a player like Haaland in the Premier League. So if you exclude Haaland from this season's FPL, the go-to player has surely got to be Kane, and he'd be in everybody's team. He'd be the 80% owned. He'd be the one you want to captain every week. And, from the way he's produced up to now, how can you argue against that? And the only way to argue against that is by having a player like Haaland who's getting a hat-trick every week. So, again, we've never seen anything like it. So Kane's not doing anything wrong. It's just the fact that them two price points are too closely matched. And in a lot of teams, the way managers have set up their teams, it's hard to have both of them in. And if you do go for both, then you're sacrificing more or less a premium midfielder, I would have thought. So yeah, Kane this week is definitely go-to captain in my opinion. I would love to bring him in. I just haven't got the balls to take out Haaland because I just think I'm going to want to own him after the blank without a doubt. I think, is it Southampton they've got after the blank? Sorry, no, not Southampton.
It's Brighton.
I think it's Brighton, yeah.
Brighton, that's it. Yeah, I mean, no matter what, I'm going to want him. 100%. I'm gonna want him, and I think he's too vital. But if you've got a way to bring in Kane, if you've got 5-6 million in the bank, then go for it 100%. But unless you've got a similar setup to Jonnas, I think you've got both, haven't you, Jonnas?
Yeah, I do. And
so
Chad
if you're in that position, so if you're in that position, like you two are, then I would 100% captain Kane, and I'd be licking my lips about it. definitely.
I can't get past game week 9. Like,
Yeah,
like,
same.
when I captain Madison, like I didn't expect Haaland to score a hat trick and 2 assists against United, and that's just at the back of my mind. Like originally before that game week, my plan was to captain Kane in game week 11, like 100%. It's just the fear factor that's sitting with me, and I mean, Kane is actually the second highest scoring player in FPL this season, and like he's just pretty much gone under the radar. Like his ownership is, I think it's like 20-something% in the low 20s. Like pretty much
And he's a
very little.
second highest scoring player.
Yeah,
I
yeah, like
mean, and he's only
pretty
owned
much.
by a quarter of the world. Like it's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it is. It's ridiculous. Like if you scroll on Twitter, you'll hardly find a manager with Kane in the team. Like it's pretty much a differential, like and
Yeah.
like you said, we're just waiting for that explosive game week. Jonnas, I know you've been pretty much undecided going between Kane and Haaland. Where do your thoughts are at the moment?
I think most Spurs fans and probably most football fans expect Kane to score when Spurs play at home. I personally do. Every time we play at home, no matter who the opposition is, I feel like is a very good option to back. And it's almost like Kane has been doing everything on his own so far this season. That's probably why he's only got the one assist, the one return per game. He's only got the one game where he got 2 goals against Forest. And funny enough, that was away from home. But it seems like Richarlison is getting into the nick of things. Son scored 2 tonight. He looked a lot better. I spoke to you before the pod. I think this was our best game of the season, even though we only managed to win 3-2 against 10 players. They managed to score at the end. I think we were very fluid, had a good idea of how we want to play. And I think the other thing that we have to take into consideration is that Kulusevski is possibly back for the weekend, which will mean that either him or Richarlison will be on the bench, which will bring in that attacking player at the latter end of the game. So for me, it's between Kane and Haaland as captaincy options. I think if you want to be safe, Haaland is the safe option because 60-70% of the game will captain him. But I remember earlier in the season, I was so jealous of Cam. I think he captained Haaland for his first big haul, and everyone else didn't go for Haaland.
The Palace game.
It was the week Salah blanked against Bournemouth, so I had Salah captain it was this. So I had Salah captain against Bournemouth the morning before the deadline, and then I decided, I'm going off this. I'm feeling Haaland instead, and I've never had that feeling since. Otherwise, I'd put the lottery on.
Yeah, I think, and I remember Cam moved like all the way. It was like not low, but he moved up so much in our personal in our group. And I said to him that I'm so jealous of you, like. And I was thinking, how did Cam captain Haaland and not go for Salah? But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that for me, at the end of the day, like it's a game. You have to enjoy it, and I think like I'm gonna kick myself if I don't captain Kane because I planned my wild card to captain Kane in game week 11. I feel like Spurs are going to do well against Everton. I don't think it's going to be a 5-6-0 because Everton have sharpened up defensively. But at the end of the day, you have to back the fixtures. Like 8 out of 10 times, the fixtures will beat. Will produce more points, and you can't say no to Kane captaincy against Everton at home, opposed to a Haaland captaincy against Liverpool at Anfield. So. Big decision to make. I'll have to select my captain and my team tomorrow morning. So I'll do that before work, and then we'll see when I come back what happened over the weekend.
So I'd just like to throw a curveball in there, sorry. So regarding Haaland, people forget that just before the Premier League started, he actually made his debut against Liverpool. I think Liverpool won 3-1, but on the day, Haaland had, I think, a goal disallowed, and then I think he did eventually score, and he missed 2 sitters as well. So technically, he could have had 3, maybe even 4 goals in that game, and that was when Liverpool actually beat Man City. So if you think about it, with Liverpool's sketchy form, he's not actually a bad shout. It's just whether or not he's going to get the rub of the green. So, you know, like I said, they're all amazing options that you've got up on screen. I think the only other one I would add in today is Martinelli, probably. But, man, if you've got Kane this week, you're laughing. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. I also think Kane has a good record against Everton, if I'm not mistaken. I checked now, and in the last 3 games against Everton, he scored 4 goals. So
there's 3 teams that Kane loves to play against. That's Leicester, Southampton, and Everton. So and I think Newcastle is another team he likes to score against as well, if I remember. So if you've got Kane and
he likes scoring
Everton
against
everyone. Well, yeah, I mean, he's that good, isn't he?
I'm just teasing Cam.
Just a quick question. I mean, I've noticed that Son scored 2 tonight, and that was Sissing playing on the left again. Like, I know a lot of people have been saying that Perisic sort of hinders the attacking positions that he takes up. Do you agree with that, or is it just a coincidence?
No, 100%. It was so evident tonight. And I think Sonny got into spaces. The first goal, the goal that he scored on the counter attack with the Kane through ball. I don't think that happens if Perisic was on the pitch, because I think Perisic will take up that position or further up the pitch, and Sonny would be more towards the midfield, more central. So yeah, we'll get to the transfer discussion, but that's definitely a player I'm looking at to bringing in this game week. I think we yet to see a good Spurs performance in the Premier League this far in this season. Like, I can personally say I don't think we've had one good game where I said, like, we really had a good game, because I don't think Leicester counts because they can't defend. And it just so happened that Sonny scored a hat-trick off the bench. But there's no consistency really. So I'd like to say that hopefully this weekend things will click. It looked better tonight, and we'll see what happens over the weekend. But I definitely think that Perisic, when Perisic and Son are playing on the same flank, on the same wing, then it's almost like Perisic holds back Son and vice versa in a way. But yeah, we'll see how the season turns out and how that matures, because they've also not been playing together for too many games.
Emerson's banned for this game, right? Still.
Yeah, and for the United game as well.
Okay.
Did he get a straight red, or was it 2 yellows?
Straight. Yeah, straight. Sweet. I think we'll move on to our transfer plans for game week 11. So, Jaydin, you're up first. You want to take us through your team?
Fun with flags. Jaydin's team presents Fun with flags. Just read everywhere. Yes. Yeah. So I have Coyote in goal. I expect Leicester. I expect Palace to score again. I expect Palace to score against Leicester 100%. So I'll just prefer Coyote over Wood. Then I have Gay, James, Trippier, Zaha, Madison, Tielemans, Salah, Mitrovic, Haaland captain, no doubts. Not even gonna think twice about that. And then Tony. So as you can see, a couple of predicaments in my team. James potentially injured, Trent definitely injured. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna do yet, but I am looking at getting in Bowen this game week. So Tielemans is going out for Bowen, and then Trent will go out for maybe a Cucurella, or I don't know, 4.5 or Webster, something like that. And then I might just take a -4. If Mitrovic injured, I might just take a -4 and get someone like Jesus or something like that.
Do you have one free transfer too?
I have 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna take a -4. I might even take a -8. My team needs restructuring.
Do you not think that Leicester are more likely to score more goals than Palace against Leicester? Like,
no.
I'll back that Palace attack. No. Palace is going to outscore Leicester away from home.
Leicester's defense is so bad. If they're coming up against a decent team, I think they will capitulate.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Do you think Wood starts this game week?
yeah. I mean, they conceded what they played. What did they play now? And they conceded 3 goals. Was it Bournemouth? What did
Yeah,
what did Leicester
Bournemouth.
play? Yeah, I mean, come on, that's Bournemouth, really. So I can't
No, but I
expect
mean,
that.
do you think this is finally the Everson game? Because I'm starting Everson. I want him to
I
play.
don't know. I don't think so. I think Rogers fully backs Wood, and probably
Okay.
will be up until the World Cup.
Okay. Interesting. And if you use your 2-3 transfers, I know that like there's no real exciting option in defense besides pretty much
Yeah, there's
Cancelo
no
and
one.
Trippier. And obviously Cancelo has Liverpool and then a blank, so I don't think that's an option for your team per se.
Yeah, I know. I'm even looking at getting in Nico Williams just for
Free up the
free up
cash.
funds. Yeah, there's really no exciting options on the bench in defense at the moment. So yeah, I'm looking to bolster up my midfield, especially potentially getting in Foden in future weeks, and that's why I want Bowen as well.
Yeah.
Jaydin, can I ask you one thing? So you started
Yeah,
off reviewing your previous game week, and you said you made a mistake by not getting in players from the best team. So,
yeah,
bro,
yeah. I know.
if you're going Trent out, bring in Cancelo. Like, if you look at the City fixtures from game week 13 onwards, like it's great fixtures, great opportunity for attacking and defensive returns. So I think if you have to make one transfer, even if it's just for one game week, he might not return, but he still could because he's that
Yeah,
attacking, and his attacking numbers are looking better. Like just get Cancelo in because he's a player that could return with bonus points even if he doesn't return attacking wise, and that will still give you like point four, whatever, point three to work with. Um, Even if you do to take out James and play, let's say for instance you put Tielemans on the bench this game week, and you play another defender. So you play with 4 defenders, one of them being Cancelo, and then
I,
because you only have 2 players that's missing out next game week, you only have Haaland and Cancelo there, so you
yeah.
don't have to worry about okay, this Helder guy, I don't know who that is, but you're gonna have to make a plan with him. But I think just you need to get Arsenal and City players in sooner
Yeah.
rather than later.
I don't think this is the game week though.
I
to
think
bring
it's the game week
Cancelo.
as well. Yeah. I'm definitely getting Cancelo game week 13, 100%. No doubts about that. But I think I'd rather own. If I also get the City play in this game week, I would rather own Foden this game week than Cancelo.
Yeah.
So, but I think I still prefer Bowen over 2 weeks than Foden. Might be wrong about that. But Bowen against Southampton and West Ham, I think I will outscore Foden against Liverpool in one game. So that's why I'm preferring someone like Bowen. And yeah, I think I'll deal with City and Arsenal come game week 13. I'm hoping to roll next week if it allows, so then I can just, kind of get all 3 players in one time. Might be wrong about this again, but I mean, might as well go all in 100%.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty grim, eh? Like, I don't want to give you a false hope, but like, yeah, I just think you've been very unlucky.
Yeah, it's not looking good, bruv.
Yeah.
I don't think it looks grim, bro. I think there's 2 players that needs changing. That's it. Like the front line is good.
It's 3.
Who's the
Yeah,
third player?
I've got the same front line. Goalkeeper, I mean, he's been talked about over the last few weeks, so goalkeeper's fine. Defense, I mean, everyone's going on this Gehi hype. I don't think he's the Matt Gehi of last season, so I'm not feeling that. But you've got James Trippier. Okay, Salah's sketchy, but we know what he can do. Maddison, Zaha, fine. I think literally the only fire that I think in the team that's starting anyway, you're starting 11 is probably Tielemans because he's not FPL gold. He's not FPL trustworthy. So yeah, you've looked at that and you want to bring in Bowen. I don't see a problem with Bowen necessarily. The only question I have on that is you're comparing Bowen to Foden. That's, are you comparing West Ham to Man City?
I think I'll get Foden in regardless in game week 13. It's just whether for this 2 game weeks, I prefer Bowen over Foden. That's the only thing.
As long as you've got a plan, and I just wanted to clarify, you're not comparing
No,
Man City and West Ham.
Never.
Are you?
Never. I learned my lesson.
Are you planning on captaining Salah in 12?
Not sure.
Okay, because I think you should just
Yeah.
be mindful of that when you make your transfers as well.
Yeah, I was thinking of getting rid of Salah, but I think I don't know. I think I'll give Salah this is Salah's last game week, to prove me just to prove something to me because I'm very close to transferring out this game week for Bowen. But yeah, that's my
Okay.
team. We'll see
Okay.
what I'll end up with. But definitely, I think Bowen is very likely to come in though.
Okay, interesting. Jonas, you're up next. I think you have one free transfer this game week. Castagna is a wait and see. You have two. Oh, you only used
Yeah,
one last game, right?
yeah, yeah. So two players definitely taking out James, definitely taking out Bailey. Reason for James is I don't want I can't have 5 players not playing in game week 12. So I'm already planning on only playing 10 players for game week 12. I thought about it and I thought that's the best decision because I want to have 3 City players and I don't want to sell Martinelli. So for me, it's pretty much who do I get in place of James and who do I get in place of Bailey. Um, I'm seriously considering getting a Spurs defender. Not that I think Spurs will keep any clean sheets soon and be playing Manchester United in game week 12. But I think if you look at the inconsistency of the defenses this season, like you can't really back on a specific team except maybe City. All the teams are conceding against any team. So I'm trying to look for a player that I think can give me the best attacking returns, but cost me the least amount. So I'm looking at Sessegnon and Matt Doherty to come in for Reece James. I'm not sure tonight was a bit tough because I don't know if Doherty will play or if Sessegnon will play with Perisic on the right. And then another player I'm looking at is actually Ashley Young. Um, he scored against Villa. He's 4.4, and he will purely be just for game week 12. But the problem with that is that I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Fulham play Villa in game week 12.
Yeah, it's
So I wouldn't really want to bring in a defender where I will have Mitrovic. He's going to play one game week and Mitrovic will pretty much have to play against him. So that's the other option. And then in the midfield, it's one of two options. It's I'm looking at Almiron and Eze. So that's the two guys that I'm currently looking at. As Jaydin mentioned, Eze has been doing quite well. I checked his minutes just before we got on, just to make sure of my facts. But um, the last game he played 90 minutes, and prior to that, he's played I think above 60 minutes for most of the game. I think he's only taken off in the last 3 or 4 games once between 60 and 70. So yeah, 3 attacking returns if I'm not mistaken, and yeah, he'll pretty much only just play one game week once again, and that will allow me to get James back if I opt to take Trippier out. It will give me the funds to upgrade a Trippier to James if I want to get James back on a
do
later
you
stage.
do you not have enough cash to go to Trossard?
No, no. If I had, I would have. I think I've got. If I get Sessegnon or Ashley Young, I think I'll have maybe like 6.5 or 6.6. I'm just missing out on Trossard. If I had the cash, I would have done it definitely.
And game week 12, what do you think about captaincy there?
I think I'm just gonna go rogue. I don't know. I think I might just take a crazy punt. I think that it's gonna be one of those game weeks where it's going to be like gambling in a way. You don't know who to go for. There's Haaland is not an option. So who do you go for? Because Kane, if you look at my captainable players, currently my team, it's pretty much it will be Madison, Zaha, and Kane that I can look at for that game week. So I don't think I'll ever captain Zaha. So Madison or Kane is the two options I have to look at. I'm not opposed to captaining Kane against United, but I don't know. It's almost like every time we play United away from home, or just play United, they step into a next gear. The last few years after that 6-1 win at Old Trafford. Like it's like they just get into a next gear. They play poorly, and then when they play us, they just decide to pitch. And I'm pretty sure Ronaldo's going to start there as well. So we'll see.
Yeah, sweet. Guys, anything to add on Jonas's team, or can we move on to Cam?
You can move on.
I just want to give him a round of applause for the amount of stars that he's got in his team. It looks like the dream team of the season. So
I didn't even see. Yeah, well done.
Thanks, Cam. I appreciate it.
Is Pope really the top scoring goalkeeper this season? That's shocking. I can't believe that, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As Jaydin mentioned earlier, like he's got the ability to get you a 15-pointer, and that pretty much makes up for all these 2-3 pointers he's getting currently. I think that's we tend to look past it when we select goalkeepers. We tend to rather go for a guy that gets you 6 points, 2 points, 6 points, 2 points, rather than the guy that could give you these massive hauls. And I think that's why Pope is a good option, even though he hasn't used as we wanted recently, especially with a double Newcastle defense. But I think with how it works in FPL, you'll take Pope out, and then that next game, Newcastle will get a clean sheet, and you miss out on your double Newcastle.
This is definitely a whole potential game for Pope. This is one of those games where you can look out with a 10-11 pointer. We just get him like 6 saves, and then also with the clean sheet, because I have to just struggle to score the whole game. It's literally
and possibly also I think Newcastle are playing Spurs in game week 13. I'm not sure if it's away from home or where it is, but I think that could potentially be another game for where Pope could walk away with a double-digit return, because if they do come up against a better quality team and they keep them out, he's getting 3 bonus points and save points definitely. Sorry.
Sweet. Cam, your team is up next. I see you have your captaincy on De Bruyne. What's your thinking there?
At the moment, it's the fact that Liverpool's midfield is very light. 1 in the way we play, and 2 in the options that we have. So this was based on obviously the Arsenal game as well. So tonight, again in the Champions League, we played, as I've mentioned before, a more packed out midfield, especially for off the ball purposes, which we might need to do again against City. But if we went for the 4-3-3 approach, which isn't out of the question, but in that system, I definitely fancy De Bruyne to just run as ragged. I think he's the best midfielder in the world, and he's got form against Liverpool as well, home and away. So that's basically the thinking behind that.
And do you not like have this feeling in your stomach where you're just scared to go against Haaland?
Not for this particular fixture, no. Only because Liverpool are one of those teams where the better the opposition, the better they can perform. And I think they've earned the trust over the years where if they're going through a bit of a blip, they can pull themselves out. You know, we're not talking about a Bournemouth or a Norwich or a West Brom here. We're talking about one of the best teams the Premier League's ever seen, bar Man City. So I think they can pull themselves out, and that's why I fancy a slightly tighter game for the Man City attackers. But I fancy De Bruyne to muster something up for Man City. If anybody's going to, I think it'll come from him.
For me personally, I always just prefer Haaland. I just think he's a much superior pick in itself for the compared to De Bruyne. And even like you say, even though the midfield is light, there's just more space for De Bruyne to feed for Haaland. That's literally how I see it. Yeah, because I think everything is just going through like Haaland's just getting chances, man. I just think it'll be a very scary thing to go against him. And I don't mind going against him for a player like Kane or something like that. But if you're targeting someone in the same fixture and De Bruyne, I think Haaland has much more potential than what De Bruyne has.
And I'm assuming you're going to be starting Trippier over James, like you mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think I sent this team in. Was it yesterday or was it earlier on today? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday. You sent it in before the James injury news.
Yeah, before the James injury anyway. So 100% Trippier's coming in, no doubt about it. Perisic, I was always in 2 minds to start or not. So that's why Trippier initially was on the bench, because Perisic against Everton sounds on paper a brilliant fixture, but it's his minutes. Obviously he's been rotated and stuff, so I wasn't sure. But now I'm not bothered whether he starts or not. I'll just take the risk, and I'll definitely bring in Trippier for James this week, 100%.
And I'm assuming you're looking to roll your transfer.
At the moment, yeah. If we get any more news on Mitrovic, if we get negative news on Mitrovic and he's going to be out longer, then I'll use the transfer to take him out and hopefully try and enhance the team, give myself another option. But if we get good news, then I'm happily going to play Mitrovic, and actually I'm even considering captaining him if he plays. So we'll see. But yeah, at the moment, I'm going to roll.
Yeah, I think we just lost Jaydin there. Hopefully he joins back in a second.
I think he might have load shedding again. Because he had it 4.
He's back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know what happened here now. Probably time to say good night.
Yeah, then I think I'll just hop into my team. Pretty much looking to roll. I just have this thing. I feel like I messed my team up last week. Like I was very happy with the structure I had. But I'm looking to roll this week. Either roll or bring a replacement in for James. I don't know who yet. Like there isn't really any. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like I'm just like I don't feel like there's any like standout.
Just on that thing, I like the transfer pick though. Chad, we lost you there for a bit, eh?
I think it's on your side, Jaydin.
Is it my side?
Yeah.
Oh, hectic. I don't know what it is. Probably my Wi-Fi.
No, I was just saying, like, I don't think that there's a standout defensive option to replace James with that has a decent fixture in 12 as well. Like, Brighton probably has the best fixture in game week 12, but I mean, I think Brentford will score in game week 11 against Brighton. So I'm not expecting a clean sheet for Brighton. So I just think I might end up just starting Gay instead of James, or depending on how long James is out for. Just because of, even if he's like confirmed out for 3 games, I just don't think there's a defender, probably only a Spurs defender, that has a decent enough fixture in both the game week 11 and 12 that will get a clean sheet in both fixtures. So I don't think it's worthwhile not wasting a transfer, but transferring out a defender where we really haven't pretty much seen big defensive walls besides Cancelo and Trippier this season. So I think I'd rather probably start Gay or even Nico Williams against Wolves, who've been struggling to score, than bring in a transfer. Like, I just don't see anyone that excites me. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think I missed most of it, but what you say you couldn't find any standout replacements for James?
Nope.
Think you're probably gonna transfer him out anyways. I think if he's out for 2 weeks, you're probably gonna have to transfer him out anyway. I think might as well just get it over and done with now.
Yeah, but I'd rather not transfer him out in game week 11 or 12 and then bring in an Arsenal defender in 13 than transfer him out now and bring in a defender that's not going to get a clean sheet. Like, I don't want to waste that transfer, especially considering that we have 7 game weeks until the World Cup, or 6. Like I think transfers are quite valuable now, and I'd rather attack like Arsenal that have pretty decent fixtures from 13 to 16 than waste the transfer on James, even though he might not start. Just to summarize it, I don't see a team that's going to get a clean sheet in 11 and 12 in both game weeks to transfer him out in game week 11.
So why don't you just in Arsenal? You can go, Cam.
I was just going to say, plus if he's only out for 10 days or so, he's worth holding on to, because you'll inevitably just want to bring him back anyway.
But the 10 days is 2 game weeks because we have midweek next week. That's the issue.
But I still think you can hold that. So, for example, if it was a weekend to a weekend, then I think he's worth transferring out. But with it being such a quick turnaround, he's worth holding on to. Come the second weekend that we play after game week 11. So that'll be game week 13. Come game week 13, he'll be ready and fit to play again. and then by
Yeah,
then you'd probably only want him in again anyway.
But then it's even though it's the time frame, but it's an extra game week that's slotted in. You're having one less player for
Yeah.
a game week. Like, don't you then think it's the other way around for that argument? Like, because of
I
how
think in your perspective though, like you've got options. So you've got Gehi and Nico Williams who can both come in that short space of time. If it was a long-term thing, then yeah, it'd be more of a concern. But in the short space, you've got Gehi and Nico Williams who, I'd probably play Nico Williams this week, Gehi the following week, and then by that point James is fit, and then you haven't made a transfer either.
I think just to add on to what Cam said, now you brought in Gay last week, and you brought him in to be defensive cover, and mostly for game week 12. So I think just stick with it. You already spent a transfer on a defender last game week. To spend another one on a defender this game week, just to spend another one in game week 13 doesn't really make sense, because you're sitting with two starting defenders in your team. For me, it wouldn't make sense to do that, because I do have I've got other problems to sort out with Bailey. So it makes sense for me to take him out. But the fact that you have two playing defenders, and they've got pretty alright fixtures. They're not playing a top team. There's every chance that they could, even if they just get the 2 points, then take your 2 points, I think, rather than spending a transfer on someone, taking James out and still getting your 2 points, as you mentioned.
I think you could easily take out James for someone like Saliba or something, and then just roll next week, and then you have Saliba ready for game week 13.
Yeah, but then I have 10 players next week. So
either way, you'd have 10 anyway. James probably not going to play next game week, so you would have 10.
Yeah, but it's you. I mean, I see a transfer as 4 points. Like, I don't know how you guys view that, but like it's the fact that I'll have 2 points in Gay and 2 points in Nico sitting on my bench. Whether I have bring in Saliba now, in the next game week Saliba doesn't play, so that 2 points that he loses is equivalent to the 2 points that's on my bench for this game week.
I agree.
But then what do you have planned for next week? Then you have the new transfers for next week.
I only wanted to make one. I want to do roll because I want to take Trossard out in 13 and Madison out for Saka and Martinelli. But yeah, I mean, I can't even plan 2 game weeks in advance these days. Like, it's just unrealistic.
You'll be fine, Chad.
That's where I am at.
I just think of what you're going to do next game week. If you're planning on rolling next week, then you can definitely bring somebody down and roll next week. But if you're still going to make a transfer next week, then just roll the transfer this game week then.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
I think you're obviously a good manager, but I was just going to say, do you think you're in fear of overthinking?
I'm always in fear of it's just like my natural game. I tend to overthink. Like, let's say I spent 2 hours last game week deciding what transfer to make, and then I brought in Trossard and I brought in Gay, and both of them got 2 points. Like, and
Trossard will come
pretty much the whole week I was. Yeah, I know I'm not worried about him, but pretty much the whole week I was set on bringing in Almiron or Eze for Bailey. Like, that was the only thing that was on my mind. And then I was just like, I just don't like Perisic. I don't like him in my team.
But you've got Trossard now for game week 12, which a lot of players won't have. Like, I won't have Trossard in my team, and trust me, I'll be checking that notifications coming through, seeing Trossard scoring, and thinking, shit, well, kudos to you. Like, it didn't pay off maybe the first game week, but at the end of the day, we mentioned we don't make transfers just for one game week. That's the whole plan with our wild cards. Like, the fact that all 3 of us have wildcarded in 8, like, we made it for the longer term. So your Trossard move was not just for that game week; it was primarily because he's going to be a standout player in that game week. In game week 12, he's going to be one of, like, I can guarantee you, he's going to be on that Scouts 11 for Team of the Week on the FPL app. So it's a good pick in my opinion. And he's the type of player that showed he could score 3 against Liverpool. So he can then pretty much score 3 against any team if you look at it that way.
Okay, cool. I think we said enough about my team. Yeah, I think it comes down to me overthinking, and I'll continue overthinking until Friday. So yeah, I think that brings us to the end of this week's pod. I think we ran a bit over time again. Trying to keep it a bit shorter every week, but this week clearly didn't work out. But thanks so much, Cam, for joining our pod. It was really great to have you on our pod. You
Thanks for
shared
having me.
some really good insight. Kept the pod exciting, kept me from not falling asleep with these two guys. So grateful for that. Would like to have you on
Yeah.
again in the future. So keep an eye out for your invitation.
Mhm.
Hopefully
Yeah,
soon as
definitely.
well.
Yeah, no,
But yeah,
definitely. Thanks for having me on. I really enjoyed it. Thanks a lot, guys.
no, it's a
No
pleasure,
problem,
man.
man.
Jaydin and Jonnas, anything to add from you guys before we call it a night?
Yeah, from my side,
Um,
I think from my side, I think thanks for the podcast, Cam. Thanks to you for joining in. Sorry about the bit of the delay with load shedding, but that's what we have to deal with in this country. For us, it's second nature.
yeah.
But yeah, thanks for joining in. And I think most all of our teams are set up pretty well, and we've got a good idea what we want to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Personally, I'd like to see Jaydin getting back into that top 1 million. I think if he takes Tielemans out, he's already in the top million. So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much the game plan. And then I think this weekend it's going to come down to captaincy. I think it's going to be the big swing vote is going to be captaincy, and that might push you up the rankings or make you drop down. I think it could be one of the biggest swing vote captaincies in the season thus far. So definitely something to look at, because I think even though not a lot of the guys on the Twitter, let's say the Twitter community, mentioned Salah, I still think Salah will be captained by a lot of players, even though we didn't even mention him. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's whether or not you have the balls to go against Ireland once
Yeah.
again. Okay,
All
sweet.
right.
Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. We will hopefully be streaming again on Sunday for Game Week 12, but we'll confirm that over on Twitter. So keep an eye out for that notification as well. Yeah, and as always, like and subscribe, follow on Twitter and YouTube, and hope you have a great game week. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers,
Cheers.
guys.
See you.
Baby